What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another Thursday morning or afternoon or evening stream, depending on where you're listening from. My name is Taetro for ADSR, and today we are going to be working on building a track with a single sound pack. Now, this is something that I do weekly for ADSR. We do a beat of the week with a different sound pack on ADSR's store. And it's a bit of a challenge for me as a producer because we're used to pulling from all different sources, all different packs, all different VSTs. And sometimes a pack can be only sample based. Sometimes a pack will have presets. Sometimes there are one shots. Sometimes there's mostly loops. So working within those creative limitations, it's actually a pretty fun challenge, and it's been interesting to see what we come up with every single week. So I thought it would be a great idea for this stream to actually go through and show you what that process is like. Now, I'm going to be using a pack that I've used before, but I am going to be starting from scratch, and I work with so many packs that I don't even think I'm going to be that familiar with it. So it's still going to be a bit of a challenge, even though I might have used it before, and I'll probably start using samples that I didn't use previously. But I definitely am excited to take you all on that journey. I got my first coffee of the day, which is practically full. So I'm already working at a disadvantage. I haven't drank any coffee yet today. But I am going to be monitoring the chat on both YouTube and Facebook and Twitch and everywhere we're streaming. So if you have questions along the way, I see there's some people in chat already. I am going to be dipping in and out of the chat to answer those questions. And it can be related directly to this project. It can be related to some other stuff we've gone over. If you haven't watched the last, I would say 3 or 4 streams, this is kind of a starting fresh point, because the last 3 or 4 streams we actually worked on a complete track from start to finish, from coming up with the main musical ideas to mixing and mastering and arrangement and adding a B section. So hopefully we can follow that same pattern here today, with starting with what we've got today with the sample pack, and then building it up to be something even more than that. But I want to dip into chat real quick before we start. Let's see. Norbug, what is up? Welcome. Norbug was first today. Felipe Chagas, what is going on? United Ones, how's it going? Tell Nick legit, am I too late or too early? You are right on time. I think it froze for a second. I'm not sure why, but I think we're back on it. I think we're good. United Ones is already jumping in with a question, which is a good one, and we will jump in and answer that question very soon. Greedo, how much attack before the stream starts? Good question. I don't know how to answer that. Lay chat, hi, what is up? Mr. Vindicator, I'm on time. You're right, I am on time. So hopefully we stay unfrozen for the remainder of that time. Mr. Walk Late 84, thank you for letting me know. Yeah, let me know any kind of weird technical stuff. The stream is definitely a work in progress. Renee is here. Welcome. Adri, hello. One thing that I always tend to do is forget to switch the cameras. So when we start working in the computer, if you guys can't see the screen, just start shouting at me in the chat and say, switch the shot, because I have to do that manually. Let me know on levels too, even though I don't hear anything besides my voice yet. If the voice is low, let me know, I can bring it up. If we need to bring the track up, I can do that too. Nija Haskins, welcome. So maybe we should dig in and start making a track. Epic B is joining in the chat. I guess that freeze was only on YouTube, which is interesting. Seems like a YouTube problem. Bloss is saying hi from Argentina. Hello from the east coast of the US to Argentina. This should be fun. Jackson Plant. All right, I want to jump up to United One's question, because it's a good question to start on. He asks, or they ask, what's the best way to get started making songs? Do I need an audio interface to record? Also, when sampling, what's the best technique to fit any loop into my project I'm working on? Thank you. That is, I can't answer that question right now, right here, but throughout the course of this stream, that question will actually be answered multiple times. How do we get different loops and different samples to fit into our track? Because that's all we're doing today. In terms of getting an audio interface, you need an audio interface if you're going to record sound, like if you're going to record a microphone, if you're going to record a guitar or an instrument that needs to be plugged into the computer. But if you're a beat maker and you're not going to be doing much external recording, you're going to use all sounds that are already inside your computer that you can download, then you actually don't need an audio interface to start. Another benefit of audio interfaces is you can run audio interfaces usually have outputs that can go to bigger studio monitors. So if you have some nice speakers, it's worth getting a small interface to at least run out to those. But for sure, shall we dip in? I'm going to go ahead and lay this down so you have a better view of the keyboard, and I'll dip in and out of chat like I said. But for now, we are going to go right into start making a track, and I gotta switch the shot. I won't forget, I promise. And what do we got today? Today we are working with the ADSR sample manager, which is kind of a way of organizing all our samples, or it actually does most of the work in organizing. And we're working in Ableton Live. And from here, I can kind of search through all of my samples in a particular pack. So like I said, today I'm using a pack called Ambient Trap and Ethereal. Oh, what did I do? I minimized it. Ambient Track and Ethereal, not sure what that last word is, but this is a pack you can get on ADSR. It's a pack like I said, I've worked with before, but I've worked with so many packs, we're basically starting fresh. Couple of things to note. We can dig through it. It's previewing our sounds, obviously, like a sample manager would. But if you notice, it's actually linked. We have one link here, one link here. So we are using Ableton Link to link these two applications together because ADSR Sample Manager is running as its own standalone program, and then Ableton as well, but they are synced in time. Not only that, you can set a key and have them synced in key, because one of the most annoying things is browsing through samples and previewing them, and you think it might sound good, but it's not quite in the right key. So actually the ADSR Sample Manager will transpose samples for you. But let's start making a track, and the way I might start today is by looking at some drum loops to kind of set a not a tone, but set an initial groove that I can play off of. So yeah, these obviously have no key information because they're drum loops, but I'm looking for something. Oh, that could actually set us into a fun direction. Remember that one, chat. And you're noticing that these samples all have different BPM, but it's still, because of link, it's syncing up with our 98 BPM of our project, which we might change anyway. But as we change it, let me see if I can bring that up side by side. As we change our tempo, there's gonna be no easy way to show both, but you can see I'm gonna bring this down maybe to 90, slower tempo, and the tempo in the sample manager changes, which is cool. Just kind of exactly what I need. I think I'm going to go back and use that top sample up here. I think that sets a baseline for us. And that's basically the purpose of choosing a loop. All right, let's go ahead and stop that. And let's start playing that. I guess the next thing I would do is start building a drum kit so we can actually get some groove going on. So let me dive deeper into here. We'll go to drum one shots. Now this is like the bane of my existence for sound packs or sample packs, is if they don't have enough of everything. Like if they don't have, some of them have a lot of one shots, some of them have a lot of loops. I'm really looking for a mix of both, but a lot of times what sample packs might leave out is with the one shots. Now with drums, we usually get a bunch of one shots. What I like about this particular pack is there's a folder called Melodic One Shots, which is going to really come in handy when we want to sample some melodic sounds later, because we don't want to get stuck just using melodic loops and be limited to what's already in the pack. So let's start digging through and seeing what kind of sound we want to build here. Something so interesting about digging through kick samples, you know, like they all are kind of the same, but they're all pretty different. Pharrell, yeah. Ooh, I kind of like that sub low. That has a nice deep sound to it. And the way this is going to work now is we get to click and drag this sample right in, which is super convenient. Let's go ahead and switch to drum mode. Sorry, drum mode. Come on. Oh, I gotta arm the proper track. That is why. Nice. Now there's something we can play with. Let's keep on moving. Let's go ahead and start looking for a snare sample now, or a snare or a clap. So initially, not too interesting, but we are just going to go through and try to find some unique drum samples to build up a kit, which is going to be the basis of our track. We have lots of choices here. Yeah, I like some of these more Foley kind of sounds, but then I also like the more typical snare sounds. See, that one's fun, and I might choose a couple of these. All right, so this one is more, what do I want to say? It's more of like a percussion, slightly less of a snare. And you notice that it created that second one, which is matching the stretch of the actual project. I'm just going to grab a few that I think I like. Where's that one that I liked? Is it this one? Yeah, I really like that one too. So I just chose 3 snares basically. Alright, we have a bassist. I don't know if I'll use all of those, but we'll find out. I'm going to bring my brightness down a bit. And that's the tip. See, I might grab that one just because it's a typical one. I want to have safety nets samples, and then also like some samples that I can take a chance on. Let's keep digging. We almost have a drum kit built up. From here, we will start actually building up some drum loops. Now, I don't have to get too into the hi-hats because I know I have a tops loop. A tops loop meaning I have a hi-hat loop. Different percussion loops come in different, types. There's full, which will have the full spectrum of drums, kick drum, snare drum, hi-hats, and top shakers and stuff. And then there's tops, which will just have the stuff on top, the hi-hats, the cymbals, shakers, things like that. I tend to use top loops a lot more because I like to build my own beats with my own kits. Let's see. Yeah, I don't need too much here from the hi-hats, but it might be good to have. Instead, I'm gonna go into percussion because it might serve the same purpose. Oh, that's fun. Definitely, we gotta pick some of those. All right, I'm just gonna throw a bunch of those in here, clicking and dragging. Might reorder them based on how I want to play them. That's cool. Ah, that's really cool. And depending on like ergonomically how I'm going to finger drum with these, we'll see how it goes. Yeah, and I like that as well. I love like wooden percussive kind of sounds. From here, do I want to grab anything else? I think this is where I would kind of start building. Yeah, we've got the basic elements. We've got percussion stuff. We have snare. All right, we have plenty to play with here. Let's go ahead and play back that groove. I'm gonna throw the metronome on so I don't lose the one. Because even though I have that loop, it can be easy to lose where the downbeat is. Let's start with that. Solid loop there. Now, what I wish this launch key had on it was a duplicate button, but it doesn't, so I'm going to go ahead and duplicate that loop and build on top of it. Oh, there's my mouth clicks. Now, I have this basic rhythm here. What I want to try to do is create rhythms that interlock in between each other and don't overlap too much. Make sure I'm getting all the samples that I want here. So if there's space, I'm filling it. Got a Quantize, and then we'll start getting into the real deal. Let's duplicate that again. See, this is why it's important to have a snare like this, like your more typical trap snare, because everything else is kind of slightly weird and tribal and acoustic sounding. And if I wanted to, ground that in like a beat, like a hip hop beat genre, then I want to anchor it with some more typical sounding samples. Let's record that. Oh, it didn't even give me a count in. What was that about? All right, wait a minute. Go back here. Come on, we want to record. Count me in. Oh, I see what it's doing. It's because it's just, that didn't make much sense. All right, and let's throw on kick snare. Now, I originally played the wrong snare sound in the first half, but gotta admit we had him in the first half. All right, come on. Let's lock this in. I'm gonna double check in on this kick. We don't want that. Alright, so I'm pretty happy with where we're at now, and it's definitely time to start. I'm going to delete these tracks that I don't need, building up some melodic sounds, which is again why I think using packs that have a varied amount of types of samples, including melodic one-shots, is going to come in really handy. So let's start digging through here, and this is where things are going to get a little more interesting, because I think most people know how to dig through percussion samples and put them into a drum kit. I'm sure that was helpful for some people, but it's a little more involved to get some of these melodic samples to work. And so some of these right. So some of these are really like gestures. They involve multiple notes, or they involve harmony or chords. And what that does is it locks me into a specific harmony, while some of these are like notes. Like this one that we just heard, that's a single note. And it's a G. So luckily, this is telling me right here that it's a G, which is very helpful. Stuff like this, lots of notes. This, I believe, is a single note. I'm initially going to look for stuff that is a single note that I can make my own gestures and my own harmony with. So I'm just going to dig through a bit. I really love some of these samples. See, even that seems like it's one note, but see how it says G major? That means there's harmony there, and I'm avoiding harmony for now because I don't know what the harmony of my track is going to be yet. I would like that to be my choice, you know? Oh, I'm only in keys? Perfect. Let's dig in and let's see if there's non-harmony. Here we go. So this is like a perfect example of a sample I would love to use. It's got depth to it. I can click and drag it right in here. And now I've dragged it into a simpler on Ableton. You see I can play a note on a keyboard. Oh yeah, true, there's no counting because Link was in Ableton Live. That's a good point, because everything's linked together. So now you see that I can play my own chords. Which is a lot better than being locked into what a sample is going to give you, at least to start. Like I'm actually dictating the direction of this track. I'm going to go ahead and cut out some lows because I know I'm going to add a bass later. I'm going to bring up the attack. And I might go ahead and warp this sample just to see what it sounds like if everything is uniform. Because it's warping things, it's actually giving it a little bit more of a not distorted, but a little bit more of a digitized sound. And you notice that switching that warp mode to tones has different sound characteristics. So you hear that? Let's go ahead and compare that to complex. Those are basically the two main warp modes that I work with. I see the chat is lots of conversation going on, so I definitely want to dive into the chats. I am reading both chats right after I record a musical idea with this, so we have something to play in the background and think about. I will dip back into chat, answer some questions. So if you have them, now is the time to drop them. I'm gonna throw some reverb on here. Let's go ahead and play the beat. I like that idea. Let's record that. I keep forgetting because the link, there's no yeah, there's no counting. That's so interesting. Yeah, I wish we would just play the metronome. All right, I'm gonna do it live. 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. Boom. Yeah, solid 8-bar loop there. I'm stoked about it. One thing I would love. Look at that. We only have 3 layers so far, but I'm pretty happy with the direction this is going. It looks like I might have messed up and played a wrong note here. So there a ghost note here too? No. Let's go ahead and quantize. And then, what am I doing? Oh, it's time to add the sidechain, which will really help us blend this together, meaning that I'm going to throw another compressor on here, which is not going to compress the sound. It's going to take a signal from the kick and make our sound pump. So it is technically going to compress the sound, but when the kick hits. Wait, just the kick though. I won't have it be so severe. And there, now we have a basis of our track. Switch that camera. So, if we look at this, and I'm jumping into chat right after this quick explanation, so drop questions, comments, concerns, haikus. We started with just a loop. So people say, wow, don't use loops, you're cheating. Well, we just did it, and it's fine. This kind of gave me an initial groove to play off of, something a little more inspiring than a metronome. You know, this is basically acting as a metronome. It's just a more interesting metronome. Then we started adding in layers of drum loops. Oh, I should unsolo that, huh? I'm just gonna stop this. Yeah, so we started with a loop. Then we added drum loops that we created ourselves using samples that we built into a kit. And I have 3 different versions of this, different densities, which I could potentially use later in arrangement, so I'm thinking ahead. Then we have a backbeat. Again, using that kick and snare. I gotta get rid of these little ghost notes here. So the typical backbeat sounds, aka the kick and the snare, which are leaning more towards a more typical trap sound, those are helping anchor our sound in a genre that people listen to, rather than all be super organic and super naturey kind of samples. Then we added a chord instrument, which we sampled from a one-tone sample, no harmony in this sample already, and the reason we did that is because we're creating our own harmony, playing our own chords. Alright, so that's where we're at in terms of all the sample stuff. I know the HDMI is getting a little glitchy, so I apologize on that. But here we are, back on the full screen. Hopefully it's chilled out a bit. I like the vibe of this. I also like that 8-bar chord loop, which makes things a little bit more interesting. I think we are actually just glitching in general, huh? Let's fix that. Alright, I've secured some cables. I think we might be fixed. Alright, cool. Thank you guys for dealing with all the technical stuff. But what do we think of the beat so far? I'm gonna dig into chat now. As you can see, like, it's only 3 layers so far, but it's sounding to my ears like pretty good and pretty like we have a direction to go in, you know? I'm digging back through chat. Wow, we're looking pretty glitchy, huh? Interesting. Alright guys, give me 1 second. I'll replug some stuff in, and then we're going to try to fix this glitch issue, and then we'll be back right in. So hang tight. I'm going to come back, answer some questions. Check 1 2. Let me know if you can hear me. Let me know if we're glitching. Obviously, I think it's a heat issue or something, or power issue. Streaming is hard, guys. Oh, you can't see this. That's great. All right, happy to be back. Let me go ahead and disable the preview so it doesn't eat my CPU. And let's listen to where we're at. Again, thank you all for your patience. I appreciate it. All right, where are we at, chat? What is going on? What gear are you using, asks Beautiful Mind. I'm just using my laptop, Ableton Live, which my laptop is a MacBook Pro. And then I am using the Launch Key Mini by Novation, which is one of my favorite MIDI controllers, especially for Ableton. It works out great. My headphones are the AI modular headphones. I've got a Complete Audio 6 interface, which runs all the sound. Jackson Plant, what's going on? Welcome to the stream. Adri Botero asks, how long have you been doing music? I've been doing music a while. So I started as doing some singer-songwriter stuff, and I liked creating my own songs and recording my own songs, which led me to music production stuff. And I've been doing that since I was like 14. So I've been doing it for about 14 years now. I am checking both chats. Hilm Limbo, what is going on? Welcome to the stream. Imran Kanan, I don't know how to say that. On Facebook, what's going on? Bloss TV, I think I answered this, but yes, I'm reading both chats. I got Twitch and Facebook over here. I've got YouTube chat over here. Tell Nick Legit says USB mics aren't good to use. No, USB mics are great to use. Eventually, you're probably going to want to get an audio interface. So if your budget only allows you to get a USB mic, by all means do it. But if your budget maybe allows you to get an interface plus a normal condenser mic, maybe go with that move because you'll spend less money in the future. But I used a USB mic for a very long time. With a USB mic as well, like you're gonna have to get an audio interface anyway to run out to monitors unless you're only gonna work with headphones. So, yeah. Let's keep going through the chat. Renee says Blue Icicle interface, which actually is a great one. It's like, looks like just a little tube that you plug a cable into, and then it's USB to your computer. So it actually kind of can turn any microphone into a USB microphone. Renee said drums can be tuned. That's true. We could actually talk about that in another video. For these more just straight up percussive sounds though, like maybe the high clicks, detuning them would actually be helpful. But in this case, I'm just building kind of a typical percussive kit. I'm loving the, there's almost like a wind type sound being generated from this pad. I really like it. But you see how 3 main stems give us a nice groove. Cool. Yeah, Cree, hope you figure it out. I know there's some technical stuff on my end, but it could also be your internet. Camilo, you woke up late, but welcome. I'm glad you made it. So stoked people are here. Jackson Plant says, can you demonstrate how to use sidechaining, please? Sure. Sorry for folks that are, see me demonstrate this all the time. It's very, it's a thing I use all the time though, so I feel like we got to be patient with folks who don't quite know what it is and appreciate where they are in their learning. So, again, demonstrating it isn't that hard, right? So actually what I will do is just have us listen to this track that has sidechaining on it. Do we hear how it sort of is pumping? Going in and out almost. It's reacting to the kick drum because I've put a sidechain compressor on there. So hear that kick pattern. And what this does is kind of, for me, it actually is like a mixing technique not just an effect, right? Like it makes everything feel like it's together when everything's reacting to that kick drum. It makes your kick drum cut through a lot more and just gels everything together really well. What I might like to do is add it on this actual hi-hat loop. So this will be really easy to demonstrate again. So this hi-hat loop currently has no effects on it at all. It's just living its life. So what I'm gonna do is throw a compressor on it. Usually if I compress a sound, right? A typical compressor, the very basic concept, is it takes the loud sounds and the soft sounds and tries to bring them closer together in the middle. That's not what we're doing here. What we're doing instead is we are going to have it react to a source. Now you could have this be any source, but most of the time we have it react to our kick drum. So I go into the drum rack. So actually, first of all, normally the compressor looks like this, just looks small. But if we touch this arrow right here and we hit the sidechain button, now we're telling it, notice how the compression went away? We're telling it that it needs a source to react to. Audio from, we can select the drum rack, but then one layer deeper, you can hear this doesn't quite sound right because it's reacting to every drum hit. One layer deeper and we can select a specific sample within the drum rack, and then you can even select pre and post effects. My kick drum isn't really being processed, so it doesn't really matter. I just need the signal, the pattern. And now suddenly if I bring this way down, it's like different degrees of sidechain, right? Fast attack. We don't want too long of a release. So let's A/B test this, all right? Let's hear this from beat 1. I lost the downbeat in my head. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn off the sidechain on both of these. Just let's give it a listen. No sidechaining, right? Let's go ahead and switch sidechain on for both. And if you can imagine, as we build up more and more layers, this effect is going to get more drastic. So that's sidechaining. And we're probably going to do it to mostly every single track in this project. But maybe we should dig in and add some more stuff. I know I didn't get through all of the questions in the chat, but I appreciate you all tuning in. I know we had some technical stuff going on, but I appreciate. What am I using to do this stream? I'm using a Roland VR1 HD, which is a video mixer, which kind of takes in all the cameras and all the sound. The sound comes out of the interface, goes into that. The mic goes directly into that, and I can mix everything kind of on there. And then it also inputs the HDMI from the computer. But I think what happens is all of this is running off of one computer, so it gets kind of power hungry and CPU hungry. Capel is here. Welcome, Capel. Andrew Grover asks, could you achieve a similar effect from mix bus compression for more organic sound, or is sidechaining signature in electronic music to get the pumping you mentioned? I'm just getting into EDM. Well, if you're just getting into EDM, sidechaining is like the thing that is happening. That is the typical technique that people are using, but definitely experiment with the stuff you're talking about, mix bus. I'm not sure exactly what you mean. If you're talking about like parallel compression, thing about parallel compression is you're getting both signals, right? You're getting the dry and you're getting the wet at the same time. So you might not hear the pumping as much if you're still getting the dry and you're still getting the wet, but experiment. I could be wrong. You could actually play with the levels of those, and maybe it would be more of an organic sound. Let's dig in. Now I'm getting ready to add another layer. What I would like to do is, and this is just like my fast workflow, right? I'm just duplicating this simpler that has our pads on it. but I'm not going to keep the pads loop, and I'm going to find another sample to work with because the basic settings of the simpler are what I want to use. So I'm still in pads here in Sample Manager, searching through this pack for something. And I think I'm going to jump from pads to something else. Flute, I think maybe, if we can find the right sample. Oh, that's fun. That's almost like a string. That's cool. Nice. And that has harmony to it, so we're not going to use that. Which one do we think? I think the one that is in B. So we'll go ahead and drop that into the simpler. Now let's talk about transposition. Working with samples, this is one of the main things we're going to do. So right now, if the label is correct and this flute note is actually a B, that means when I play a C on my keyboard, we are actually going to be hearing a B, and we can test that out by grabbing a tuner, audio effects, tuner, and just put it in the chain here. And let's play a C. Oh, that's interesting. It's actually an E flat. And it's probably closer to a D. It's a little bit flat. I'm actually going to probably go ahead and upgrade this from simpler to sampler so I have a little more control. And if I use the D-tune here, I can get it to be right in the center. So no matter what note it is, like forget about E, flat, B, whatever. To have the best ease of use, we kind of want to start at a point that gets us as close to the center as possible. Cool. So since it indeed is playing a note other than C, as you can see, I play a C on the keyboard, C here, and it says it's E flat. We want to adjust that. Ideally, we would like C on the keyboard to be C on the tuner. How do we do that? We have to go up or down. So where is E flat on here? We have C, C sharp, D, D sharp. What's another name for D sharp? You can either have D sharp or E flat. Remember, sharp goes up. So D sharp is 1/2 step up. E flat is 1/2 step down. These notes are the same. They sound the same. There's just two different names for them. The really fancy term for that is enharmonic. That's your music lesson for today, enharmonic. We can either call this D sharp or E flat. Today we're calling it E flat because that's what Ableton is calling it. So let's go ahead and transpose. So if we need to get from E flat to C, we need to go down, right? And we can, well, actually the easier way to do this, there's two ways because we're in sampler now. The root, it says, is C3, which we now know is incorrect. So we can actually just set the root to, and of course now we're in sharps, D sharp. Remember that D sharp, E flat, the same note. Now, magically, when I play a C, what do we have on the tuner? A C, which is exactly what we want. Because that means now that C is C and every other note. D is D, E is E, F, G. It matches our keyboard. What I do so much of the time, because I have some training, is I don't even bother with this transposition step and I just play things in the key that they're normally in. So let me really mess with your brain here. And I changed it back so that C equals E flat, right? Now let's play our tune. Our tune, which is based around D minor. Now when I start playing these out of key notes, I can figure out what key it's in. And I just use my ear to figure out that actually if I play in the key of B major, that I'll actually be in the the correct key of the song, even though when I play the B on the keyboard, it's actually a D, because we're in D major in reality. That is a really complicated thing that comes from having done a lot of ear training and music theory work and understanding scales. For those of you who don't have that training, simplest solution is transpose your instrument. So like we said, we can set the root note in sampler here to the actual note that the sample plays, and it will transpose it for us. But let me just really quick convert back to simpler. And what simpler has, I actually don't want to do it this way because it'll just add some confusion. All right, go back to sampler. Easiest way to do it is with sampler and D sharp. But just know that if we had to transpose it ourselves, wherever your note is, so if we are originally at D sharp and we need to get to C, which is usually where we need to get to, we would just do minus semitones. So we do minus 1, 2, 3 semitones. If you had a transposition knob, you would set it to minus 3. Whew. Let's get back into making music and a little less, music math. Now this sound I would love to add a little bit of delay to. I have a direction I want to go in. No, I don't like that. So I'm finding a collection of notes that I like to play. That's essentially how it goes. I think that's halfway decent. Oops. Just play it. I definitely played a wrong note here. That's a simple enough line for now. Again, working fast, just gonna go ahead and duplicate this simpler track because we are gonna add more layers. Bass, I think that's what it's time for. I think it's time for bass. After we add a bass track, I will go ahead and dip back into chat. So if you've got questions, I see people asking, can you watch this later? Yes, Wojciech, you can watch this later. This will be on ADSR's channel, YouTube channel. See a lot of good conversation going on this chat. Cool. When do you not want sidechain in EDM? That's a total taste thing. What you should do is go listen to some EDM artists that you love and listen for that pumping sidechain, because some of them do it to their entire track. Some of them only do it at a drop, It's different. This is where you get to create your own sound. Again, I'm in one shots. You'll notice that I definitely don't prefer working with loops. And I will to some extent, but not until I've built up, I used a loop. I used a percussive loop. But when it comes to melodic and harmonic loops, I like to build up my own harmonic and melodic basis first, and then dress it with other loops. So I like to start from a point of original musical ideas, and then dress it with some other pre-made loops if necessary. If I find that something's missing and I'm not finding it, like a sound that I can play, then I'll start digging into the loops. But to start, I'm going to start building my own musical ideas, with some of these sounds. Now this is a kind of it's funny. I hope this is the challenge of working with a sound pack, right? So some of these bass sounds are very intense. Meanwhile, our track is kind of light and airy. So how do I make this work? That one might be cool. Can I add a fade to it? Another cool thing about the sample manager is you can edit the samples in the sample manager and then bring them into the DAW. So let me actually go ahead and demonstrate that. I just added a fade to this. I don't know how it's going to sound, but drag it in and now look, the sample has that fade on it. Just like one more step. I don't like how it has that reattack. And actually, I want to go back to simpler because it is simpler. We have another transposition issue here. We'll have to transpose the sample. I think I can make this work. Oh, it's got delay on it. It's not reattacking. This'll work. All right, cool. I'm gonna go ahead and bring up the attack a little bit. Cool. All right, what did we say? So again, let me demonstrate that. Play C on the keyboard. Obviously, I'm getting a B flat. I'm gonna go ahead and go into one-shot mode, which gives me this transposition knob. Again, we're on B flat. So wherever we need to go, we need to get back up to C, meaning that we need to go 1, 2 semitones. So transposition knob here, 1, 2 semitones. Boom, we've got a C. Playing C on the keyboard, C in our ears. That's what we like to see. I'm going to switch this back from one-shot mode, but it maintains that transposition. Let's see how much trouble I can get into by stretching this. Ooh, maybe it'll work, or maybe I just can't hear how bad it is. I'm gonna take the sidechain off for now. Figure out a very simple bass line. Nope. Close. Alright, I think I have the idea. I think I want to go down there, yeah. Alright, let's make this full screen so you guys can actually see what I'm doing, and we'll show the MIDI notes, and we'll record, but it's not going to count me in, so I'm all messed up. It's interesting, it's not typical. work with that. I don't know if I absolutely love it, but let's go ahead and quantize. We get rid of this dumb idea. Make sure everything is legato. Good enough for now. And let's add back in, I know I took the sidechain off. For something like a bass, here's an example of like where I might back off on the sidechain. I might bring the dry wet down because I want a little more of the bass to cut through. I don't want it to be totally pumping. Usually we only go to about 11 folks, but I know I had that technical glitch, so we're gonna go a little bit over 11. Maybe we'll have some time to chat at the end. So what we're kind of missing here, nope, I didn't save it yet. I'll save it at the end. What we have some chords. Everything lays on this bed of chords, which is kind of how I describe it. We have this mid lead riff, that's a flute. Our low bass. And then obviously our percussion. I'm just gonna group our percussion. We might need something else on top, so let's maybe try to add one final layer. I'm gonna go ahead and duplicate that simpler. Again, like this is really messy, duplicating it like this, because who knows if I want to keep the same effects, etc., but we are. I think speed is a part of my workflow because if you take too long on things, you lose inspiration, you lose energy, all that kind of thing. So working on ways to make your workflow faster is very important to me. All right, we obviously are done with bass. So I believe there was a keyboard sample that might work. Again, I'm taking a look here, which I can tell if it's just a note in key or if it is a harmonic sample, which means it will have a chord symbol. Let's use that. I don't love the typical Rhodes sound, but maybe we can mess with it. Let's transpose it to where we need it to be. This might have a lot of reverb on it. Yeah. Let's cut that for now. F sharp. Again, a lesson in transposition, right? We're playing a, well, let's start on C. Playing on C, and we're getting an E on the tuner. E on the keyboard is here. We need to get down to C. So on our transpose knob, we're gonna subtract 1, 2, 3, 4. Remember, you don't count the note you start on. 1, 2, 3, 4. -4 to get to C, which will get us -3 to get to C, which will get us again in key. And that's another reason about using copying and pasting is it actually kept the transposition of the old sample. So it was sitting at +2. So now we know that we really only need to -2 to get a C. Boom. What if we reversed it? And we bring this tail up. Let's go simpler to sampler and let's crossfade it. Which is going to help eliminate that any clicking sound. Now I want to play this high. That's the whole reason I did this. And let's see if there's a place for it in this track. Definitely, but I would say we're gonna bring back up that sidechain. sustain mode, right? So how does the sample sustain? This is the start. This is the so now we've taken what is a like single note of a keyboard and we've turned it into something that we can actually hold out. Oh, that was shrill. How did I reverse? Good question. I just right-clicked in here where you can normalize and do all that stuff, and there is an option for reverse. That was back when we were in Simpler, I believe. Yeah, so this is how we take a sample and make it our own and make it something that we can actually play. And this is part of my everyday process with samples. How do I take these packs that have a lot of pre-made ideas, but create my own ideas with those sounds? Be inspired by the sounds that they've made, but make my own. So let's layer on. Maybe it's as simple as that, a high drone. I like this. Let's try to record something. I always do that and I know. Satisfied with that. This is a very flowy type beat. Why do I have two sidechains on here? What happened? Oh, probably because I was demoing one. Need that tuner anymore. Oh, you know what I bet? Let's add in some low end on that bass. Boom. So here we've got all the basics that we need to have a track, right? We've got our chords, we've got a mid lead, we've got a bass, we've got a high lead, and we've got a selection of drum loops to play. And they'll fit together pretty well. We used one loop from the kit to get us going, one percussive top loop. We built some drum loops of our own on top of that, building a kit of our own with some samples. Then we took all these little individual one-shot samples, threw them into Simpler or Sampler, and made our own musical ideas with them. So we got a chord progression, a mid lead using this flute sample, and we transposed these so they're all in key. We got a nice solid bass sample. that we actually added a fade to in the sample manager. And then we added this little key sound, which we messed with ourselves in Sampler to make it sustain and to make it have a fade in, and we actually reversed it. So that's how we kind of make our own sound in about an hour with samples from a single sample pack. This creative limitation is super helpful because I didn't have to spend so much time digging through my entire library looking for sounds that work together or trying to find the perfect sound. I only had a set amount of samples from one pack to work with, and that's how creative limitations can really help you to be productive. If you know how to use the tools and you know how to work with the tools, you can get yourself to a place where you can take almost any sample pack and make something of your own with it. I'm sure if you approach the sample pack the same way, you might get a different sound. You can get this sample pack on ADSR Sounds, as well as the sample manager. The sample manager that I'm using is free, and I believe it's in the chat somewhere, the link. Like, this sample manager is totally free. Not only do I have my ADSR samples in it, but it sorts your entire sample library. So I have a splice library, which it uses all the tags and the keys and everything. It's a little more robust with the ADSR samples, obviously, because it comes with tags. Like, you can search by tag, which is very, very helpful. That's how we search for things every day on Google and all that. The Atmospheric Trap and Ethereal Chill pack, you should definitely check it out on ADSR Sounds. See what you can build. And if you want to follow this process along next week, and again, remember, this is only 5 solid musical ideas to start a track. We did not go crazy and add 10, 20 tracks. I think that's important too. We don't need to keep building and building and building. But, so if you want to play along and you go to ADSR Sounds and you get this pack, or you get any pack, doesn't matter, it doesn't have to be this one. You want to follow back along with this stream, build something yourself. We're going to come back next week and start the process again of arranging. We're going to take these exact musical ideas and say, okay, but they're just loops in session view. How do we make these into finished tracks? I think that's going to make the most sense for us going forward. But hopefully y'all enjoyed this stream. I'm going to dive into chat a little bit so we can hang out. So let's get some stuff playing in the background for us to jam to. Yeah. And then I'll kind of click around. Super stoked to be here. If you liked this stream and you had fun despite any technical issues, make sure you subscribe to ADSR's channel. Give this video a thumbs up. It'll be available later. Watch it later if you didn't watch from the beginning. Also, head to youtube.com/Taetro. That's Taetro. Even just type it in the search bar and find my channel, because I've got a lot of similar videos, beat making videos, live streams. I stream myself, and you can join the party over there. I've got a lot more videos where this came from if you enjoyed this teaching style, and a lot more videos to come, and a lot more streams to come. Late Chat asks, am I foolish trying to create entire tracks in Machina as a DAW? No, totally not. Tons of people do that. Just because I'm so embedded into Ableton, I prefer Ableton, but I like using Machina to break my workflow and to try beat making in a different way. One workflow you can try, because I think Machina is a really robust performance tool and idea creation tool, so you can build up a beat just like we did today in Ableton, but you can do that same exact process in Machina. What I tend to do is then export stems out of Machina and bring them into Ableton, because I'm a little more comfortable in terms of mixing and effects and things like that in Ableton. If we are frozen visually, guys, let me know and I can try to fix that for sure. Sorry about that frozen visual, my friends. I don't know what is up today. That's why I like kind of hanging a little bit more. So much fun. I would like to drop some vocals on this for sure. I have been vibing in my studio for a good hour now. Cool. If you have an idea, like a musical idea, and you want to send me some kind of stems or something, go for it. Find a part of the stream that you can maybe loop or something and just like kind of steal it, because I'm probably not going to upload it yet. There's nothing to upload. And send me vocal stems, and if they're cool, I'll work with them next week. Kind of Italian gesture, yeah, for sure. How did I use the reverb to give an atmosphere? So basically on every track I have a reverb track, a reverb effect loads on every single one of my tracks, audio and MIDI, and it's basically the same reverb on every single one. I dial it in for each one. I love reverb, so I add reverb on almost everything. I think it's my battery is low. That's what's giving me the technical issues. Mr. Vindicator, thank you so much for the sub. I appreciate it. Hilm Limbo asked, what do you do to stream Ableton with the lowest latency possible? So basically I have a video mixer that handles all of the streaming stuff, which helps take some CPU load off, which as you can tell, it doesn't help take all the CPU load off, unfortunately. But this was a cool stream. Excited to dive back in. If you didn't know, and if you haven't checked it out yet, the last like 3 weeks we built up a beat. We pretty much finished it, did some mixing and mastering stuff with it, and it was really cool. So it's worth going back and looking at those if you haven't yet, because we're going to repeat the same process, and it would be great to get some folks following along. Even if you are following along and you follow this exact process, and you want to show your progress and stuff like that, it would be great even to at the end see what you all come up with following this process. So let's think about that for a couple weeks from now if we're still doing the streams, if we can get people to submit tracks and maybe see if the process, learning this process, help them. Capel is here just in time for us to end. Let's play this track one more time. Is it playing? Not playing yet. Come on. But I have a feeling we're going to be able to take this track to really cool places for sure. All right. So folks, I think that's going to be it. I really appreciate you all. Greedo Kenobi. Oh, wow. That's interesting. Some lore I don't know about there. Greedo Kenobi says, love those masks on your back wall. They might do some form of diffusion scattering. Yeah, probably. I love the masks too. Thank you all so much for tuning in to another Thursday morning live stream with ADSR. Gonna try to work out some technical kinks for next week. Build on this beat. How do we take this beat and build up an arrangement? Follow along. Do this with me. Go take what you learned today. Make 5 to 6 tracks from one sample pack and get some musical ideas and some loops going. And then next week we will all jump in together and start arranging and figuring out how do we make a finished track. If you haven't yet, go to youtube.com/Taetro, Taetro, and sub to my channel because I've got lots of similar beat making videos. I do Beat of the Week with ADSR, so you can catch me on Instagram as well at Taetro, and Twitter at Nick Taetro. I post a lot of the stuff that ADSR and I collaborate on up on all my social media. Make sure you sub to ADSR's channel, of course. And if you want to join a Discord and get a lot more perks, join a community of other like-minded home studio music producers from around the world, head to patreon.com/Taetro and check out the perks, see what's up over there. There, you get entry to the Discord. You can submit music to my podcast where I review music. Some tiers get streams, some tiers get one-on-one lessons. Lots of behind-the-scenes info. I've got blog posts up there. Sound pack. As soon as you sign up, even for as low as $1, you get a sound pack, so that's good. But BPM, Renee, is 90 BPM. RJ Hall, where do you send stems? Yeah, ADSR says we'll figure that out and tell you next Thursday. You can also send them to taetro.music@gmail.com. And we'll see what happens. Thank you all so much for tuning in. It was another great stream. Really appreciate you all, especially the crew that came from Discord. Make sure you check out my channel. Make sure you sub to ADSR's channel. And thanks so much for listening. This has been Taetro. Have a good one.